Okay, family, welcome back to another video with Makaisha Kesey. Today, let's read out of our book. No, not that book. Not How to Read People Like a Book. How to Not Give a F***. Watch closely as we observe the pug in its sleep stage. All right, now as you can see, I threw a slight clip in there of our little girl Onyx. She is asleep, knocked out. And no, I did not want to wake her. It's like waking a baby. Who wants to wake up a little baby when it's asleep and it cries all day long and it needs to eat and it needs to poop and it needs to do all that stuff? No one wants to wake up that baby, so I'm not going to wake up this one. But at least you got to enjoy her for a quick second, right? So let's talk about not trying. That's the first chapter of this book. Don't try. Don't try. Okay? This is my third time reading this book because it is very important to reread things that have been helping you. Okay? You have to revisit things. So let's start. It's going to be really quick, and I want to kind of piece in my own thoughts along with it, but it actually begins with a story. So it's story time. Charles Bukowski was an alcoholic, a womanizer, a chronic gambler, a lout, a cheapskate, a deadbeat, and on his worst days, a poet. He's probably the last person on earth you would ever look to for life advice or expect to see in any sort of self-help book, which is why he's the perfect place to start. I love this book, guys. You guys are gonna pick this up after you hear this. So Bukowski wanted to become a writer, but for decades, his work was rejected by almost every magazine, newspaper, journal, agent, publisher, anyone that he submitted to. His work was horrible, they said. Crude, disgusting, depraved, and the stacks of rejection slips piled up, and the weight of his failures pushed him deep into an alcohol-fueled depression that would follow him for most of his life. Bukowski had a day job as a letter filer at a post office. He got paid shit money and spent most of it on booze. He gambled away the rest at a racetrack. At night, he would drink alone and sometimes hammer out poetry on his beat-up old typewriter. So this is back in the day. Often, he'd wake up on the floor having passed out the night before. Sounds about right when you're in an alcohol-fueled depression. So 30 years went by like this. Most of it a meaningless blur of alcohol, drugs, gambling, and prostitutes. What a trip. 30 years went by like this for this man. I'm 26. So he lived just about my entire lifetime, more than my lifetime, in this state. Can you imagine? Are you living like that right now? Doesn't have to be with alcohol. So 30 years went by like this. Then Bukowski was 50. After a lifetime of failure, self-loathing, as an editor at a small independent publishing house took a strange interest in him. The editor couldn't offer Bukowski much money or much promise of sales, but he had a weird affection for the drunk loser, so he decided to take a chance on him. It was the first real shot Bukowski had ever gotten, and he realized probably the only one he would ever get. Bukowski wrote back to the editor, quote, "I have one of two choices. Stay in this office and go crazy, or stay out here, play at writer, and starve. I have decided to starve," end quote. That's bold. How many of us have made a decision like that? Upon signing the contract, Bukowski wrote his first novel in 3 weeks. It was called simply Post Office. In the dedication, he wrote, "Dedicated to no one." Bukowski would make it as a novelist and a poet. He would go on and publish 6 novels and hundreds of poems, selling over 2 million copies of his books. His popularity defied everyone's expectations, particularly his own. Stories like Bukowski's are the bread and butter of our cultural narrative. Look, Bukowski's life embodies the American dream. A man fights for what he wants, never gives up, and eventually achieves his wildest dreams. It's practically a movie waiting to happen. We all look at stories like Bukowski's and say, see, he never gave up. He never stopped trying. He always believed in himself. He persisted against all the odds and made something of himself. It is then strange that on Bukowski's tombstone, the epitaph reads, "Don't try." See, despite the book sales and the fame, Bukowski was a loser. He knew it, and his success stemmed not from one determination to be a winner, but from the fact that he knew he was a loser, and he accepted it and then wrote honestly about it. He never tried to be anything other than what he was. This genius in Bukowski's work was not only in overcoming unbelievable odds or developing himself into a shining literary light. It wasn't at all. It was the opposite. It was his simple ability to be completely, unflinchingly honest with himself, especially the worst parts of himself, and to share his failings without hesitation or doubt. I'll let you sit on that one for a second. This is the real story of Bukowski's success, his comfort with himself as a failure. Bukowski didn't give a fuck about success. Even after his fame, he still showed up to poetry readings, hammered and verbally abused people in his audience. He still exposed himself in public and tried, this guy is crazy. He still exposed himself in public and tried to sleep with every woman that he could find. Fame and success did not make him a better person, nor was it by becoming a better person did he achieve the fame and success. Self-improvement and success do often occur together, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are the same thing. Our culture today is obsessively focused on unrealistically positive expectations. Be happier, be healthier, be the best, better than the rest, smarter, richer, faster, sexier, more popular, more productive, more envied, and more admired. Be perfect and amazing and crap out 12-karat gold nuggets before breakfast each morning while kissing your selfie-ready spouse and 2.5 kids goodbye. Then fly your helicopter to your wonderfully fulfilling job where you spend your days doing incredibly meaningful things and work that's likely to save the planet one day. But when you stop and really think about it, conventional life advice, all the positive and happy self-help stuff that we hear all the time, is actually fixating on what you lack. It lasers in on what you perceive your personal shortcomings and failures to already be, and then emphasizes them for you. I'm gonna reread that whole thing. But when you stop and really think about it, conventional life advice, all the positive and happy self-help stuff that we hear all the time, is actually fixating on what you lack. It lasers in on what you perceive your personal shortcomings to be, and then emphasizes them for you. You learn about the best ways to make money because you feel you don't have enough money already. You stand in front of the mirror and repeat affirmations saying that you're beautiful because you feel as though you're not beautiful already. You follow dating and relationship advice because you feel that you're unlovable already. You try goofy visualization exercises about being more successful because you feel as though you aren't successful already. Ironically, this fixation on the positive, on what's better, what's superior, only serves to remind us over and over and over again of what we are not, of what we lack, and what we should have been but failed to be. Okay? After all, no truly happy person feels the need to stand in front of a mirror and recite that she or he is happy. She or he just is. There's a saying in Texas, the smallest dog barks the loudest. A confident man doesn't feel the need to prove that he's confident. A rich woman doesn't feel a need to convince anybody that she's rich. Either you are or you are not. And if you're dreaming of something all the time, then you're reinforcing the same unconscious reality over and over again, that you are not that. Everyone in their TV commercial wants you to believe that the key to a good life is a nicer job or more rugged car or a prettier girlfriend, a hot tub with an inflatable pool for the kids. The world is constantly telling you that the path to a better life is more, more, more. Buy more, own more, make more, fuck more, be more. You are constantly bombarded with messages to give a fuck about everything. All the time. Give a fuck about a new TV, give a fuck about having a better vacation than your coworkers or your friends, give a fuck about buying that new lawn ornament, give a fuck about having the right kind of selfie stick. Why? My guess, his guess, Because giving a fuck about more stuff is good for business. And while there's nothing wrong with good business, the problem is that giving too many fucks is bad for your mental health. It causes you to become overly attached to the superficial and fake, to dedicate your life to chasing a mirage of happiness and satisfaction. The key to a good life is not giving a fuck about more, it's giving a fuck about less. Giving a fuck about only what is true, immediate, and important. Okay, so those are just the first 5 pages of this book. What's the takeaway from that? What do you take away from that? Maybe rewatch the video and write a couple of these ideas down. Maybe grab the book, The Subtle Art. The title, I even threw the Amazon link in the YouTube video for you. Click on it, pay for the book. It's not expensive. But what's the key takeaway from that? Was that hard to hear? For me, it was hard to read the first time. Because if you come to my page and you see the things that I do and talk about, it entails a lot of what we just went over. It entails being better and becoming, right? So does that draw a conflict for me personally in the things that I think that I should be doing and striving for? Of course it does. But isn't that the point? Isn't that the point of life, is to question everything anyway? So in reality, it's a good thing, right? That this is coming up and that I had to read that. Again, this is my 3rd time reading it and I forget about that part every time. It's the subconscious, deletion. My subconscious is like, delete that, because that's not how we operate. We want to be better. We want more. We want more. We want more. We want to we want more. I just made a video maybe a few days ago and it was about how intense I can be in my activities and how much I always want to keep going and moving and doing things so that I can acquire and be more, right? So what this helped me to dial back into is really figuring out what are my values and what are my metrics and how in the world am I going to figure those things out. One way that I was able to kind of hone in was, like I said, I took a step back and I said, okay, the information that I put out on my platform, the things that I am, speaking about for people, with people, they are about getting better. However, if you notice, my most recent videos are more so about going inside and finding out who that is. Because remember the last sentence of what we just said. The key to a good life is not giving a fuck about more. It's about giving a fuck about less, giving a fuck about only what is true and immediate and important. So for me, that says and speaks wonders, because what's true, immediate, and important for Makaija is digging inside and finding out her honest self, who she is, how she is, and what she's here to do, right? So I stopped looking out there for more money, for more time, for more things, right? I stopped looking outside and I said, what do I really want? I had to assess, are those things even things I really want? I don't know. So I had to dive in and assess that shit. And I found out a lot of the things that I thought I wanted, I really didn't. The soul, the source inside of me does not want those things. It's the external that wanted it. So now that I'm digging back into myself, this is becoming more and more true, which is why I'm rereading it. And I will probably read this book 20 times before I pass away, unless I master this by then. So in conclusion, rewind this video, truly do that, because it's gonna give you a totally different perspective than the first time you heard it. And you're gonna grab more and you're gonna hold on to more, stuff it in your pockets. In conclusion, I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more, I added a playlist, subscribe, so like and subscribe to this channel. Everything is entertainment that I post on here, so don't take any of it seriously. You're an adult, you make your own decisions. If you buy this book, that's your choice to do it. If you follow what's in this book, that's your choice to do it. Don't blame it on me, all right? I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.